that a lawnmower?
That is a pressure washer.
A pressure washer.
It'll be fine.
I know. Why, hello.
Hey there. So, our whole family, except for me, I don't think I've gotten it yet. I don't think so.
I don't know. I think you may have.
I don't know. Everybody except for me, I think, has gotten a cold. But it's not COVID. Yay!
It's just a regular old cold.
Just a regular old cold. And it seems like everybody's getting a regular old cold. Isn't that just so wonderful? You know,
I guess.
sniff and hack and
I
cough
don't like
and
it.
not worry about having to deal with
All the rest
all the
of
other
you
hoopla.
can medicate.
Well, yeah, you have to suffer.
I know.
You know, I mean, you're taking what, Robitussin?
Yeah, that's about all I can take.
Yeah.
It's like it's expectorant and cough suppressant.
Yeah, it's called worthless.
Combination. Yeah, so it doesn't really help with like the cause of all of the coughing, which is like, you know, your body's just, I don't know if it's because of cold germs, like if the cold germs making this happen, or if it's my body trying to get rid of the cold germs, but all the mucus that comes out of your sinuses and lungs and everything else. I cannot do anything about that.
I know. Well, it's a cold, right? So it's doing what it's supposed to do and try to infect others by expelling itself.
Yeah. I wasn't patient zero,
You were not.
but we were
I'm not
pretty
sure
sure
who.
you had it. Well, we think it was Jonathan.
Probably. I mean,
I think it was Jonathan, then Rosalina. Then
Montessori's the most
Terrence,
likely culprit.
Then me, then you and Christina. That's where you had swollen glands, and I think you just are really, you tend to be pretty tough. Like your body is resistant to cold.
Yeah, I thought I had something this morning, but I feel fine now.
Well, you thought you had something on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, everyone's got it. It's the same day Christina started coming down with it.
Yeah, but I'm okay,
Yeah,
is what it is.
it is.
Well, I'm Dale,
I'm Kit.
and welcome to Catholic Hitch. We are a Catholic family seeking heaven and hoping to pick up others along the way.
Small talk.
So yesterday, not yesterday, but a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago, you heard on CPR, Colorado Public Radio, that there was a leaf flourishing of fall colors up in the mountains, but not in the mountains we normally go to.
Yeah.
Southern mountains this time.
So they talked about how we've had a lot more rain in the mountains this year, apparently, like there were summer monsoons, and that the leaves would be extra bright this year. And then they had a map of the different areas where leaves would be nice and bright, and nothing
Yeah.
was in the northern part of the mountains that we're more used to. Everything was south, like very, very south, much further south than we went, but then, you know, a little bit of south that we did. So we went on a 2-hour trek to go leaf peeping, as it's termed,
Yes.
apparently, which just sounds wrong.
I guess so. We're peeping toms at leaves,
Yep.
looking for their colors.
Yeah.
So wrong. Yeah, no, I thought it was fun. I didn't realize how far away Conifer is. So my martial arts school, Colorado Taekwondo Institute, has a campus in Conifer, and I have some friends that are at that campus, and I did not realize how coniferous it was going to be. Like, you know, there's a lot of places here in Colorado that are just name things, and they don't really represent that, but conifer really represents conifers.
Yeah.
They're just everywhere.
Yeah.
Total ubiquity of the evergreen
Yeah,
trees.
it took us an hour just to get to Conifer, actually.
Yeah.
We went into the strip. There was like the King Supers and all the normal kind of suburban outlet stores.
But
We're
they're
like, okay,
they're
we're
kind of
still in
cool.
the suburbs.
Well, we were, but it was
in the mountains.
It's a mountain suburb. Yeah, because we're going up hills, and then you kind of have to go off on a side service road, and they've got large retaining walls everywhere so that they could flatten it out enough to put like a King Supers or other things out
Yeah.
there. So that was kind of neat. It's kind of one of those places like you got to know where to go because the signage is not going to help you.
Yes.
You need Google
Yes.
to do it, you know?
We could not have made it into
No.
town. We got to the, gas station, whatever they're called. See, I'm not...
Convenience store?
A convenience store.
Yes.
To stop for a quick sec. before making it the rest of the hour into the mountains.
Well, I needed a pit stop, and then apparently three of our other children also needed a pit stop, so it was fortuitous.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we drove. Was that Fairplay? Is that the name of the town we were driving towards?
Yeah, it was 285.
Yeah, but we didn't quite go all the way to Fairplay.
I
think we probably
to Kennewa Pass. I'm probably mispronouncing it.
Yeah, it was basically like a summit point on the mountain, and there were, I don't know, thousands and thousands of aspen trees, and they were beautifully colored. The grasses and the smaller foliage had a beautiful, like a burnt umber and reds and yellows. So it was very, very beautiful.
Yeah, and the aspens were bright yellow.
Yeah.
Like the brightest I've seen aspens in Colorado as a native.
Yeah, I mean, it was the kind of area, if you ever are in Colorado or if you're from here, you know of bugling for the elks. It's basically their rut or their mating season. And so they make this honestly really annoying bugle type sound. And normally when that happens, you see cars upon cars just all lined up, and they're stopped on the side of the road, and everybody's taking pictures of the elks laying down bugling. This was a similar situation, except there were no elks. It was just everybody was lined up, and there was hundreds of cars all on top of the summit just taking photos of the beautiful foliage. And then there was a lot of mountain bikers and things like that, and trails.
There's a trail called Colorado Trail that goes through here, so there was like quite a few mountain bikers.
Yeah, it was nice. And we stopped, like I instinctively went past all that. Because I don't know how to stop and deal with that situation. So we kept going, and there was like this little pull-off, and it was the scenic lookover, which was actually pretty cool. I'm surprised more people, hadn't pulled over there and at least walked over. But if you looked out, and I don't have the slightest clue what direction that was at that point, I would guess
southwest, I'd say.
Yeah. You could see for a very long way. It was like the top of a plateau into a huge valley. And there were, sprinkled little farmhouses throughout, and you could see 285 just kind of snake through the whole thing for probably a good 20 miles. It was pretty impressive. So, yeah, it was nice just to take a moment, stop.
Yeah, it's probably like a 5-hour round trip in the end.
Yeah. And it was definitely one of those mountain adventures, like when you get home and you feel that you're still moving.
Yeah.
Because there were so many turns and let's go 60, let's go 35, let's go 60 again, just through the mountains. And
you drove the whole time.
Yeah, a lot of 5% and 7% signs. And then the one I liked the most was, don't be fooled, there's still more.
Yep.
It was like another 5 miles of twisty turns, but you kind of hit this nice soft flat area for a little while. And I think probably they've had enough wrecks that they had to put up a sign saying, don't get into a false sense of security. You're not done yet. You got to get through the rest of the mountain. So it was fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Big talk?
Sure. This is going to be a short podcast today.
Maybe. We'll see. So you and I have been talking about parishes. And, well, I don't even know if it was parishes in general. We were just talking about wounds.
Yeah.
That we all have in our faith journey, that we all get from, I think, the outside influences of our lives that impact
specifically
us.
Through the parish.
Yeah, through the parish is the kind of where our focus was with the conversation. And what kind of hit us as we were talking about this was really just how our parish specifically, as anybody who's been listening to this podcast for a little while has heard, it was a dry spell. It was a hard time. And I think many parishes, especially through COVID, it was really, really, really hard. And now as we have a new pastor that's coming in, and myself, especially on the pastoral council, I'm starting to recognize some of those wounds that have come up, that have kind of festered to the top, because we're so excited about a new pastor, and he has such a good sense of pastoral care. We went from having a pastor that after Mass vanished to a pastor who after every Mass has been meeting everybody and talking to everybody and getting to know people and asking lots of questions and wanting to know how the building functions and what condition things are in. It's just like a
so
total
pastoral.
Yeah, a total difference. And so people, of course, are excited with this, but we're also seeing the wounds of not just from the past pastor, but many pastors before, of how, I don't know, would you say over the last 20, 30 years, things have changed in our parish and how it has affected people, because I think...
Yeah. And I don't think that's particularly unique to us. I
don't
think
think
that it's
so.
probably representative of the parish experience once you lay down like strong roots. I don't, we've belonged to many different parishes, or I guess a few different parishes in our life, but we've never really set down roots prior to the parish we're at now, which was my home parish growing up. So I have very long roots here. It's kind of nice to be able to tell people I was baptized here, I was confirmed here, and First Communion here, although we were married somewhere else.
We were. But I think it goes to kind of what you and I have talked in the past about how the realization that the parish, the laity, they're there for the long haul. The pastors come and go. The vicars come and go. Ministries come and go. But the people are always there. And
or they should be.
Well, they should. Yeah, I think that's where we're getting at is, we feel that you should stay at your parish. It's your community. It's your home.
Yeah, like your boundary parish.
Right.
I'm pretty strongly opinionated that people really, you have to have things going very wrong to like leave your parish boundary.
Yeah. And
church.
we've had friends that, some really hard things have happened in their time, and they try to stick it out, but it just kept going, and so they did leave. Or we've had friends that have moved, and that makes perfect sense. You move, you should be close to the parish that's near you, because it's hard when you're an hour away and you're going to come back to the parish you were at, even
20 minutes, I'd say.
Well, 20 minutes, I guess. I mean, sure.
Still a long ways.
It's a long ways. A 20-minute drive is not easy to do. It takes a lot of effort, and it makes it difficult to be fully engaged in your parish throughout the week. If you're 5 minutes like we are, it's much easier to go pop over and go grab a confession, go grab a weekly mass, go to a potluck dinner.
To end up working there.
Yeah, end up working there. Sure. All of those things, it makes it much easier. But the permanence of the laity in the parish is what sustains it. And so I think with everyone with COVID, we were kind of ripped away from our parishes, and now we're finally, I think, getting back into the parishes, and we're starting to see now with a new pastor coming in, and he's trying to assess, okay, what did we do? How did we do things? So as we were talking as a pastoral council, I'm hearing a lot of things that happened in the past where, people have been hurt by previous pastors, or they had been hurt by this ministry or this thing that was done, and you're trying to get through all that. And one of the things that comes from that is that we found that we have to heal the wounds. We can't just return back to the old ways. The old ways, that was the best way. We 45 years ago, we did this, and that was the best parish we ever had. Well, it felt like it back then, I'm sure. And looking back, it's rosy-colored glasses, and it's great. But now we're in a new dynamic. There's so many different things that we have to contend with in our parishes. The youth that are coming through, that are being evangelized, and the people that are coming in that are being evangelized are different people, and it's a different culture altogether. So thinking to go back 40 years or 30 years or 20 years and do that thing again doesn't necessarily work for a parish.
It does feel like it's the knee jerk when there's been a wound. And I think
so.
And this is probably representative of a lot of churches, people were not being listened to or heard in a way that made them feel, that they were understood. So there just wasn't a listening happening. And I think that's a wound in and of itself. Yeah,
it's the community. The community gets lost, and you're just... Is Mass a mechanical thing that you go to because you're required by God, or is it a place you go to because it's a refuge from the world around, that you can be with people who are going
renewed
to
in
help
your
you, you know, to
journey.
be able to go out back into the world as a light of Christ.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
it's a different mindset completely.
but there is a lot of talk of, oh, this is the way we used to do things. We should go back to doing that, you know, particular thing in this way. And, you know, that's definitely starting to percolate. People are starting to compare, you know, maybe a new initiative to things that have been done in the past.
Yes.
And it's not like a healthy way to address the wounds that we have as a parish. Like, probably the healthiest way is like listening. Like, if someone could listen a little bit and be empathetic, but then say, you know, we're going to move forward. Like, we're not going to return to the past. Like, trust me.
Agreed.
So.
Yeah. And I think we're going to get there. But there are some things, some of the good things that we were doing, we're going to bring those back. Things that build community, things that bring reverence to the Mass, to the liturgy, those are coming back. And we'll see how that affects us as a parish.
You want to talk about specifically what's happening liturgically?
Yeah. I mean, so we just met as Masters of Ceremony and altar servers to kind of talk through what are we going to do as a parish. You know, with the new pastor coming in, he's starting to say, hey, let's bring back some of these things. So, you know, right off the bat, we brought the offertory back, which was wonderful because we hadn't had anybody bring down. And it's such a beautiful symbol of the parish and the gifts, the work of human hands coming down and bringing and setting at the foot of the altar at the sacrifice of the Lamb. You know, because we are supposed to bring our sacrifice to him. And in our modern era, that's a monetary value for most people. So we're just to the point now where we're having a family bring back down the water and the wine and the bread ready for the preparation of the Mass. And we've been talking about maybe bringing back, you know, a basket with the dollars and setting it down in front of the altar, which we had done years and years ago. And we'll see, maybe that'll come back. But that was a huge thing, just to bring that back. We've brought, the bells are in full force now. And some of the beautiful things with the new pastor has been, hey, what did you do before? Oh, well, what if we do this? And it's just like a little bit of a slight nudge into a little bit of a different direction, but using that as a tool. So like Father was showing Terrence, like, how do you ring the bells? Because I showed him once and he was being very bashful. And we've got a new kid who's kind of coming in and he's served in other parishes before. So he knew exactly what to do with it. But Terrence is just like, I don't know. And even me, I was trying to get down because we're going to also potentially bring back incense at 2 masses every weekend. And so, you know, when you ring the bells, you have to be in sync with the incense as the thurifer is, you know, moving the thurible at the proper times of the Mass. So we kind of talked through all of those things. So huge things. I mean, you and I, we love the incense and the bells, and it was a nice thing. We were, one of the younger guys was saying, well, hey, Father, how much incense do you like? He's like, oh, I like a lot. Like, yes, it's great. So we'll see what happens. Because again, that's going to be one of those things where some people are going to be like, I can't stand the incense, but we're only doing it at 2 masses. So that means you have 3 other masses that you can go to that won't have incense.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's fair. You know, because I don't honestly know beforehand back in the day if we did incense at the other masses, because we always just went to 1 mass.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it might have been that, but we'll see. So that's a huge thing. And we're bringing back the precious blood. I still have reservations about that. I don't disagree. It's a beautiful thing to have the whole community be able to receive, but there's a lot of logistics that go with it. And the reverence that is necessary for that aspect in a community, I'm a little worried about, you know, is it going to be received well? So we're going to see that it's not like a given, like, oh, it's just back, you know, and it isn't, oh, it's just back and we're going to do it the way we did it, you know, 10 years ago. It's not. We're changing and trying to make it a much more communal mode of how the ordinary and the extraordinary will interact on the altar, and all those things. So
That's good.
yeah, it should be good. But yeah, it's just little things like that. But it takes kind of takes a village to get back to that point, and we're a small village right now. So I don't know. We're gonna see. But yeah, I think the wounds of the parish, with some of these things, are gonna, I think, address it, or at least help. But I don't know if it's enough to help people get past some of the things. And like you were talking about, to feel like you're being heard. I think that's a good point. That I think every parish needs that, and I think that's what we're feeling right now. Is we have a pastor that's listening.
Yeah.
And
which kind of scares me in that I really am worried for him overdoing it.
Yeah.
And being like overly giving of himself to the community, in that he exhausts himself. Like, that's something that's I'm legitimately concerned about.
Yeah.
Because he's so pastoral. It's a very big change from like what we've had for many, 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 many years. He wants to listen to people and hear them. And that's great. It's really amazing. And maybe it's an opportunity to be open about, the wounds that the community has received. But we also have to be open with moving forward and not just trying to recreate the past of our church. Even though, things were going well at this and that time, it seems to be connected to this or that ministry or this or that way of doing things. But I think it doesn't have to be that way. So it's like address the wounds and then move forward together. It feels like the best plan of action.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of younger pastors who have talked about like actually praying, bless you, for healing of the wounds, of the parish. And I think that's something we should probably do, even if we just do it as a family, because I think we have to pray. We have to ask for the healing to happen. And I think if it's acknowledged within the parish, it's like anything. Like if you don't acknowledge something, you can't address it, right? If there's an issue. So acknowledgement of the hurt that's happened through the past years needs to occur in order for us to move and do better and greater things.
Yeah, I mean, it is through God. You're like, that's a great point to like specifically be intentional about, is we have to like turn back to God in prayer about the wounds. But I know it never hurts to like talk and be heard about, this or that. And I think a lot of people have very small private wounds that are actually like repeated throughout the community.
Yeah, definitely.
Too.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it.
Yeah, it's a short podcast for today.
That's okay. At least we're getting better and closer to being more regular again.
Yeah.
So that'll be nice. If you have any friends you think you'd be interested in our topics and our conversations, share the podcast. I think we're on like all of them.
Yeah.
Spotify stuff. Those fancy technological things.
Yes.
We're on those.
Found wherever podcasts are found.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. Well, may the Lord guide and direct our journey.
Amen.